Hello everyone, welcome to Master United Insurance's Line and Length. It's a cricket program where we look at the sport, not only in the region, but internationally as well. I'm Barry Wilkinson, with me is Andrew Seeley, and as we look at what's happening, it's a big week for this man, Kevin Pietersen. And the ECB have been at loggerheads, not from just this week, Andrew, but for the last year or so. And it has reached, I would say, part two, season two, you can call it.
Is it or three or four?
No, I think we've come to the climax of season two, where the ECB has informed him, Andrew Strauss really, that he's no longer allowed at the moment to play for England. That's our main discussion today on Master United Insurance's Line and Length.
Well, interestingly, you say informed him because Andrew Strauss didn't yet have the job as director of cricket, but he was able to advise Pietersen that you will not be selected. Interesting, huh?
Very interesting. We're going to go to London and hear from a BBC correspondent who has been in the know and also was there when the story broke on Sky Sports. We're also going to talk to David Brook. He is another correspondent who's further afield but has been following the story from Surrey as he is a correspondent there. We're also going to discuss the Pepsi IPL, the West Indians, how are they doing? Coming on to the latter stages, Andrew, the West Indians at the IPL have not been doing so great, for the exception perhaps of Dwayne Bravo.
Well, Dwayne Bravo is the star at the moment. Less West Indians in the IPL. And what has happened to Darren Sammy? Do we know if he's still in the IPL?
Yeah, Darren Sammy's played 2 matches and that's it. Has been nothing more than a cheerleader, you could say. And then you also look at the fact that Dwayne Smith has dwindled his form. He's only scored 17 runs in the last 5 innings, and he's certainly gone off the boil. Lots to discuss. It's the cricket program. Don't move a muscle. You're watching Master United Insurance's Line and Length.
Across the Caribbean, more people are placing their trust in Massey United Insurance for the protection of the things that are important to them, their homes, businesses, and their prized possessions. That's because Massey United Insurance offers excellent general insurance coverage to help you manage whatever life sends your way. Our cadre of well-reputed agencies and trained insurance professionals are always ready to provide you with sound advice and prompt service. Choose the security and sound strength that is Massey United Insurance.
So welcome back to Master United Insurance's Line and Length. As promised, let's head straight to London, England for some reaction about what's happening with Kevin Pietersen and the ECB. I have Ebony Rainford-Brent. She is, of course, a BBC correspondent and a former England player, and she's very much in the know. First of all, Ebony, welcome to the program. Did it surprise you any, the ECB's stance that they took on Kevin Pietersen?
Yeah, I think it surprised everyone, to be honest. I think, especially after he's hit 355, he's shown that he's still a classy player. And I think what people would have understood is maybe not selecting it or not saying that he's in the contention for Ashes, but leaving the door open enough that if there was an injury. So the way he's kind of shut it out with this trust statement, I think we've all just been a bit like, this is not the ideal way to start this sort of director of cricket role for Strauss.
But, you know, we say that, but having looked at the situation, he wasn't on trial. So it's not to say that even if he made 502 and broke Brian Lara's record, that he should have been picked. He was not on trial. But Kevin Pietersen was actually dropped because of his attitude, because of his lack of trust, according to Strauss. So those seem to be the issues. Do you think that those issues were somewhat ironed out?
Well, this is where I think it's all gone a bit wrong, really, and it's caused a bit of a drama. I don't know if you remember, Colin Graves a little while ago opened up the comments, opened up the door almost by saying, if Pietersen comes back to county cricket, scores runs. It was then followed up between the two with 2 phone calls where he confirmed this. Yeah. Which is what's coming out. So I think everybody's kind of like, okay, you opened the door, said score runs. He scored runs, and fair enough, he would appreciate that he might not be in contention now, but the way the statement was made from Strauss, the door's pretty much shut now.
Now, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but Colin Graves has made a lot of outlandish statements. He hasn't even started his tenure as the chairman. But isn't it fair to assume that Graves made those statements before he became an active capacity of the ECB? And having said that, there was no real clear guideline for Kevin Pietersen to re-enter. Do you think that Kevin Pietersen might have jumped the gun in thinking that all will be fine if he comes back to county cricket and score runs?
Yeah, maybe. I think from his perspective, he most probably put himself in the running as much as he could by giving up the IPL contract for that period, etc. And I think you could be right, actually, about Colin Graves, that he wasn't officially in the role. I think he was obviously in that period, in the handover period, starting to work and engage and doing his role and I think the fact that they had the two conversations. I mean, me personally, I'm a fan of Colin Graves as a chairman going forward. Obviously, he said a few things which has caused a bit of an upset.
Yeah.
But this one has just left the door, now just caused a bit more of a stir on a situation that potentially should have just been kept quiet.
All right, well, with the controversies aside, if Kevin Pietersen was to come back and play for England in this team, where would he fit in? Because you have you got a Joe Root who's in very good form. You got a Balance who's averaging 100 for the year. You also have Bell who is unlikely to be dropped despite his indifferent form. Where would have Kevin Pietersen fit in this current England team had he been available for selection?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I think as it stands, he doesn't. I think if you look at the performances of the Balance and those guys out in the West Indies, like you said, Bell's unlikely to be moved. I don't think we'd see changes. What I think a lot of us would have liked to have seen him use as, and a lot of people, almost a super sub role. So he might not necessarily be touring with the team, but if there's an injury in the middle of a series like the Ashes or something like that, you would want an experienced batsman who could handle those sort of conditions to be able to step in. And I think that's how, especially with all the drama and everything that's gone on, is not to shut the door, equally not to open it up and displace some of the youngsters who are coming through nicely. I think Joe Root, as you've seen, is a fantastic player. He's middle order. He's now, got the vice captaincy opportunity, which I think is a very good move. So I don't see Pietersen displacing the current lineup, but I think he can be used as in the lineup if there is an injury.
We're talking with Ebony Rainford-Brent. Of course, she's a BBC correspondent, former England player herself. Ebony, let's discuss Andrew Strauss now. It seems to be a bit of a payback by him because we all know those infamous text messages in 2012. He seemed to have taken what has happened to him personally into his own new role. How is he being seen in England? Is he being seen as selfish and petty by the decision?
Yeah, it went a bit crazy on the old social media. I mean, there's 20,000 tweets going out. They had the hashtag Strauss Logic. I think a lot of people, I think he didn't word it very well for himself. I mean, he came out with a trust statement, and I think when you start to go through the list of who the people it could be, it's either likely to be Cook or himself, or both. And I suppose, I can understand from his position. It has been a difficult relationship with those two. And I can understand that he's pretty annoyed about it. I think he would naturally have issues. I think what people would have liked to have seen is maybe him step away. And it maybe appears that he's a little bit still too close to the whole situation. Let's face it, though, Kevin Pietersen's book did not do him any favours. That's riled it up some more in between the whole situation. But I do think the way Strauss phrased it made it seem there's no trust between those two, and therefore it is him. And I think that's come across as more of an ego issue rather than let's think about the best for English cricket.
Do England have a chance against New Zealand? And then more importantly, do they stand a chance against Australia?
Very good question. I think, looking at the performance in West Indies, I thought England looked good. I think there were some really good promising things in there. We saw Jimmy Anderson perform well, Joe Root, Balance coming through. I think there's some good performances, but as you can see, there were some times where they weren't able to close out. They left too many runs on the out there in the pot. And the challenge is when you've got Bolt and Southey running up, swinging the ball in English conditions. I think the key I think in the New Zealand series is going to be the key to how they play those two. If they're able to negotiate, if Cook's moving his feet well, which he's starting to do again, then it could be a successful series. If not, then I think there's a struggle. Ashes, I think, honestly, at the moment, Australia are looking dominant, and I don't really see England taking them at this current phase.
All right, wonderful stuff. Ebony Rainford-Brent, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the programme. As usual, you're in the know, and we're going to tap into that cricket in brain perhaps a bit later on during the months of the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Across the Caribbean, more people are placing their trust in Massey United Insurance for the protection of the things that are important to them, their homes, businesses, and their prized possessions. That's because Massey United Insurance offers excellent general insurance coverage to help you manage whatever life sends your way. Our cadre of well-reputed agencies and trained insurance professionals are always ready to provide you with sound advice and prompt service. Choose the security and sound strength that is Massey United Insurance.
So welcome back to Mass United Insurance's Line and Length. We're going to talk generally about what's happening in the world of cricket and also keep on top of this Kevin Pietersen story. We're going to head back to England, not quite London, but in Brighton, where our correspondent David Brook is there. David, so good to see you. It's been a long time you've been in the Caribbean. First question for you. This entire situation with Kevin Pietersen and Andrew Strauss, having worked within the media there, what is the very latest about this situation?
Well, the very latest is following the appointment of Andrew Strauss yesterday. You know, he's apparently calling time on Kevin Pietersen's England career, at least for this summer, and giving him no indication there's any way back. So it's been this news has not been received well by England cricket fans. The social media's been humming all day. It's running about 90% in favour of Kevin Pietersen, and I think that English cricket fans will feel doubly disappointed, that they're not going to see Kevin Pietersen this summer, and secondly, that apparently Andrew Strauss's terms of reference in his new job indicate that achieving a result in this Ashes series is not a priority. That comes as a huge shock to most cricket fans.
Now, in terms of the situation as it is right now, Kevin Pietersen, what is likely to happen to his career? Is he going to just play T20 cricket until he calls it a full day?
Well, of course, the latest news is that he's damaged his Achilles, having played that amazing innings of 355 not out for Surrey in the county championship. So the latest news is he's not getting on a plane to India playing the IPL because he's not fit enough to play in the final weeks of the tournament. Where that leaves him now, has he got anything left to play on for? Do we expect to see him playing again in the county championship this summer? That's the question we're all asking, because that motivation, the motivation given to him by the new chairman, Colin Graves, who made those statements that you picked up on about giving Kevin another opportunity to wipe the slate clean, to tremendous disappointment to most fans. And Andrew Strauss got off to a very difficult start, I think, in that new role.
Do you think that Andrew Strauss carried his bitterness about Kevin Pietersen and made it a very personal judgment based on an overall situation?
Well, I don't think it will be just an Andrew Strauss decision. I think the captain, Alistair Cook, who received Andrew Strauss's backing, has probably had an input. Those two, of course, used to open the batting together, Strauss and Cook, so they're pretty close. And maybe there's been some closing of ranks. I can imagine Alistair Cook not wanting Kevin Pietersen in his dressing room. Andrew Strauss, we all know about the history between them and the Textgate during South Africa's series. Andrew Strauss's famous comments, which I won't repeat now, off air, about Kevin Pietersen during his stint as a commentator. So we all know the history between them, and clearly that, it does seem to have been a factor, because if Michael Vaughan or Alex Stewart, the other two candidates for the director of cricket position, had been appointed, we would probably be looking at the reintegration of Kevin Pietersen right now, at least giving him a prospect of playing in the Ashes. Michael Vaughan is interesting. He said he wouldn't have picked him for the New Zealand series because the middle order is firing for England at the moment, but he would have held out a carrot to him. If he keeps scoring runs in the county championship, there may be a place for you in the Ashes team. Why close the door? That's what England cricket fans can't understand.
Do you think it was purpose work then, that they put Strauss as the director of cricket because they didn't want Pietersen and they didn't want to do the dirty work? So do you think it's possible that they put Strauss there because they know that he's not going to have to pick Kevin Pietersen?
I don't think that's the case. Michael Vaughan was a serious contender for the position. He claims, when he was speaking on BBC Radio yesterday, that he did raise the subject of Kevin Pietersen with the new chief executive of the English Cricket Board, and was given no blanket ban. There was a general view that Kevin Pietersen could be reintegrated. So I think it comes down to Andrew Strauss and Alistair Cook as the two characters. So Michael Vaughan claims to have pulled out because the job didn't meet his specification. So it's the point at which Andrew Strauss was appointed, as you say, the personal differences between the two, the lack of trust between the two. Because as far as the trust with the English Cricket Board is concerned, it's a new slate of people anyway. So you've got the new chairman, new chief executives. There's no history with Kevin Pietersen there. But we know that Andrew Strauss has been a big critic of the book that Kevin Pietersen wrote. He said that it tarnished the Ashes victories. It's taken the sheen off that cricketing history. So Andrew Strauss has taken it personally, and Alistair Cook will feel probably as strongly as well.
All right. Well, David, thanks so much. It's been an ongoing story, and we thank you for your input. I asked this question to Ebony earlier. Do you think that England will beat New Zealand, and what are their chances in the Ashes?
I think we can have a very difficult summer. Maybe with New Zealand in early season conditions, England may be able to edge that one, but I don't think that, and there's no real confidence coming from the England cricket camp expecting an England victory in the Ashes this summer. I think England cricket fans will be asking when we're 2-0 down for a certain Kevin Pietersen to be coming back at that stage, and who's to say he won't be needed later on this summer.
So you think Kevin Pietersen could come back? You think that will ever happen?
I don't think it will be. I think there'll be a clamour for him if the team don't perform. So there's that additional pressure. And of course the Australians will be loving this. I mean, we've already seen a succession of ex-players and current players all climbing onto this issue, saying, oh, it's ridiculous that Kevin Pietersen hasn't been selected. It's in their interest, of course, to open up this can of worms and to suggest that the England team is going to be deficient this summer without Kevin Pietersen. And they may be right, and they're certainly in their interest to play up that factor. So one way or another, the name Kevin Pietersen is going to be looming large over this Ashes series, even though he's unlikely to make an appearance in it.
All right, good stuff. David, thanks. Keep in contact, and we'll definitely be talking to you a bit later on during the months for the show.
Look forward to that. Great to speak to you, Barry.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Across the Caribbean, more people are placing their trust in Massey United Insurance for the protection of the things that are important to them, their homes, businesses, and their prized possessions. That's because Massey United Insurance offers excellent general insurance coverage to help you manage whatever life sends your way. Our cadre of well-reputed agencies and trained insurance professionals are always ready to provide you with sound advice and prompt service. Choose the security and sound strength that is Massey United Insurance.
Wonderful stuff. Interesting to hear the thoughts, especially of Ebony and then David Brook, no stranger to us in the Caribbean. He's been a correspondent here before. Before we switch topics, I just want to do a little bit of, I would say, grandstanding on what the other cricketers around the world have been saying about the Kevin Pietersen thing. Let's first of all have a look at Graeme Smith, former South African captain. He said, I see the head boy is making English cricket the laughing stock again. How do you read that?
Well, there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek there. Yeah. I believe, Graeme Smith is no lover of Kevin Pietersen, and Graeme Smith have never been best friends. Let's leave it at that, and the tongue-in-cheek is certainly great.
But I'm wondering, is he talking about, when he says the head boy, is he talking about Pietersen or is he talking about Strauss?
Strauss logic. That's a good one, Barry.
I think
it might be both.
I think he might be talking about Strauss. Jeffrey Boycott. Congratulations to Kevin Pietersen on a fantastic innings. We all know he made 326. Only spot
355 actually, 355. But not out too.
Yeah. Only spot by Strauss and Tom Harrison. Keep your chin up and keep scoring runs. Jeffrey Boycott, obviously in the corner of Kevin Pietersen. Sanjay Mandraker. from India, well-known former cricketer and now commentator. It was never about KP's ability as a batsman, so why should a 326 not out change anything? And this is the most sensible thing. Kevin Pietersen was not on trial, as I said to Ebony, but it was a simple case where it was his attitude and his lack of trust that was the main problem, and that was never covered.
Yeah, but Barry, you say that, but the ECB said to Kevin Pietersen, go play county cricket, score some runs, and we'll pick you.
But a man said that who had no authority to say that.
The same man that said the West Indies was a mediocre team.
He's
a Yorkshireman. And
he was not in the capacity yet
and not authorized.
As the chairman. So I don't see that as any serious statement. He was the incoming chairman, and he was only made chairman yesterday. So I don't think Kevin Pietersen should have taken that too serious.
What about Andrew Flintoff? Have been better. Like all other fans, I'm intrigued to know the reasons building for the future. Only then will this be put to bed. Clearly it's a little incoherent, but he's saying that England is saying they're building for the future, and they're building for the future without Pietersen, and he's saying, can they really build without Pietersen?
Yes, and Flintoff didn't leave in such acrimony, but he also left in some kind of bizarre circumstances. Gary Lineker, former England footballer, commentator, he's also getting in on the act. I see Mr. Strauss has allowed personal grievance to influence his decisions. Seems extraordinarily petty and immature. Doesn't bode well. That's strong.
From a Gary Lineker, not the best player on the field in terms of friendliness. So it's a little strange coming from Lineker.
I guess he's looking at the fact that Strauss, now administrator, has taken on the field into administration.
Oh, definitely. Shane Warne. What about Shane Warne? If Strauss wanted instant public acceptance and the whole country to support England again, that is, he should have said, I want KP back in the team. But Shane Warne would always love to have Kevin Pietersen. That Shane Warne a type of player like Kevin Pietersen.
Yeah, but Strauss has not taken the job to be prime minister. He has not been voted in. So
not to be friends of everyone.
He doesn't need to have public acceptance in the country to support England again. He hasn't taken the job to do that, so I would rubbish what Shane Warne said. Kumar Sangakkara, I don't trust Kevin Pietersen enough for him to play for England, but I trust him enough to advise me on ODI cricket. Now, this is what I don't understand. You're asking Kevin Pietersen, you're telling him he's been blocked, but then you're asking him to take up a role as an advisor. I think an advisor is a more trusted position than a player.
But do you think he was serious? Strauss was serious, or that was a toss? They knew he would say no. They knew he would say no. So I don't think it was serious. And Sangakkara, I think, understands it's not serious, and he's taking it for what it is. He's calling it Strauss logic.
Yeah, that's the big hashtag. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Pepsi IPL. That story with Strauss, ECB, and of course with Kevin Pietersen is going to go on for quite some time. The Pepsi IPL is continuing, and it's really coming to an end in terms of how the playoffs are going to peter out next week. You look at how the West Indies have been doing. I'm very disappointed in Dwayne Smith in terms of how he's ending so far his run in the IPL. What has gone on with Dwayne Smith?
But Barry, it's a continuation from World Cup 2015. There has been no significant change, and it seems as if Dwayne Smith is probably at the end of his tether at the moment. He's retired from all long cricket, 4-day cricket, test cricket, concentrating solely now on 50 over and T20, and perhaps this is his last concentration, because clearly he's out of touch, out of form, out of everything really. Even on the field, he doesn't appear to be the Dwayne Smith that we have grown accustomed to in terms of fielding.
We speak about on the field, catch of the week, undoubtedly. Dwayne Bravo, sensational catch last Sunday. It was sumptuous. That's the only way I can describe it.
Well, on a Sunday, sumptuous on a Sunday. And clearly Dwayne Bravo is the outstanding player of a West Indian player, that is, of the Pepsi IPL. He's done extremely well. He's wearing the purple cap, 19 wickets at this stage, and leading his team towards the semi-finals or playoffs or whatever you want to call them.
Chris Gayle, still one game to go before we do the recording, but he's gone, I would say his roller coaster ride has continued. A century one day and then failing the next day and then runs one day. So he has been somewhat inconsistent, and we're not seeing Darren Sammy. Darren Sammy played the first two matches and then he's just been on the sidelines.
But I haven't actually even seen him on the sidelines. I don't know if you've seen him. He's been in the back.
I still say it was not the best move by the RCB to buy Sammy, because he was not suited for the role that they were looking for. It would have been good if Sammy could have gone to Delhi Daredevils or
well, the Delhi Daredevils could certainly use a player or two.
Yeah. So unfortunate with him. Happy to see how well Lendl Simmons is doing. Again, very consistent. That's very important. Kieran Pollard always has been consistent. I think he's the most, Bravo, but
After Bravo.
After Bravo, Pollard for me is the most consistent West Indian at the IPL in the last 4 to 5 seasons, undoubtedly. And who else we've got at the IPL?
Shane Warne. Sorry, Soon on the Rhine.
Soon on the Rhine.
Soon on the Rhine.
Action has obviously gone wrong. He's not at his best. He had a 3-wicket haul, I think, but...
A 4-wicket haul, actually.
Yeah, 4-wicket, but not at his best at all.
I think obviously there's a shadow hanging over him, and he's unsure as to what his next move will be. When they can tell you, BCCI can tell you that if you're called again, you'll be banned. Barry, think of that, and you're walking onto the field. Think of when you bowl that first ball. All eyes are on you, as they say.
Yeah. And then, of course, Andrew Russell, also inconsistent, but when he does it in grand style.
Fantastic.
When Andrew Russell puts on a performance, he puts on a show. And we just want to see some more consistency coming from the Jamaican all-rounder, because he's indeed a favourite of mine. So, look, we've had a good week in terms of cricket news. Last week was a very good week in terms of how things ended up for the West Indies. Not only because they won, but the crowd participation was very good. We caught up with Nelicia Yates. She is the marketing manager in terms of how things go at the West Indies Cricket Board and commercial manager. And she had this to say about how the overall series finished for the public appearance at the grounds.
We've had very good crowds, and fortunately, and for us, but unfortunately for a number of fans, tickets are sold out. The only tickets available right now are for collection for the party stand. So this is fabulous. Test cricket is alive in the West Indies.
People talk a lot about marketing locally, but is there any marketing done internationally? Or it's just word of mouth, everyone knows England's coming, so they buy tickets?
We did some marketing with our tour operators. Comey, Howzad, Barmy Army. We allowed them as an official tour operator to go and market to their fans and promote It's On, which is the campaign. So we are reaping the benefits from it today, as you can see by the sold-out venue.
Now, like you said, Test cricket has taken a knock in, people saying people are not that interested in it anymore. But by these crowds, are you encouraged that more Test cricket could perhaps come to the West Indies?
Definitely, and it's important that our players play more Test cricket to hone their skills. So this crowd is very encouraging, and the crowd for the entire series, Antigua, Grenada, is very encouraging, and it means that we have a lot to offer. Still, the Caribbean, in some venues, they don't pull the crowds that we have managed to pull. In Antigua and Grenada, we average 8,000, which is more than 60% for their venue. Today in Barbados, we're at 100%. So coming to the West Indies for Test cricket is an exciting thing. And for our players, it gives them an opportunity to hone their skills, to get better, so that when they play T20 and one-day cricket, they can play those shots.
Finally, we have Australia coming. How can Dominicans and Jamaicans who are watching, how can they get ready to get their tickets for that series?
Yes, we're also going to have a tour operator program out of Australia for that series. And their tickets will be going on sale within the next 2 weeks. And we hope to do a lot of more partnerships with their governments, like we did here in Barbados and the other 3 venues. So there's a lot to look out for. The timing of their matches, there's some weekends included in their schedule. And for us West Indians, a weekend means cricket. So that will work also in their favor.
Right, so people in Dominica, Jamaica, if you're watching, don't wait too late. You don't want to be disappointed like some people in Barbados. Get your tickets early. Thank you so much, Nelicia. So that's it this week for Mass United Insurance's Line and Length. Topic of the week, Andrew Strauss, Kevin Pietersen of the ECB. Catch of the week, we saw Dwayne Bravo. Keep your tweets coming. Keep your emails coming to cricket@lineandlength.net. And we hope to see what happens, what the future holds for IPL cricket next week and also generally. I'm Barry Wilkinson. Bye-bye for now. This is Mass United Insurance's Line and Length.